Hello and welcome to Cruise Mountain. This is the fifth Dev Bog. I have finally been able to get the run animation to work, and also got a couple attack animations in. I've added like a collision box to the hack draw, but I haven't yet put the necessary code in to actually kill enemies and stuff like that. And I'll probably make a character separate to. Obviously, I could just make a copy of the character blueprint of Kenny, but I think it'd be nice to take a little break from all the animation slash hitting my head against the wall with trying to understand blueprints, and just focus on some character sculpting. That'd be fun. And it'll probably be a bit more motivating if I become attached. It would, like Kenny, it will be just like a placeholder character model, but just something which vaguely resembles the final thing. Like the rig will be the same as what will be used in the end product, most likely. Although saying that, with all the limb removal and organ stuff, maybe it won't be. But without any more waffle, I'm just gonna show off what I've got. So yeah, first of all, we got idle to walk and then walk to sprint, which is pretty cool. The transition between the two can be a little bit like fast. I'm gonna work on getting smoother transitions and stuff, but at least it's working. That's kind of the main thing right now. And then jump still in. There's a bit of a problem though. If you hold sprint and jump, then this happens. So you kind of right now, to make it look right, you have to sprint, let go of sprint, press spacebar. And then once you're in that animation, you can't press sprint and it goes back into sprint. I'm just trying to figure out how to put a condition on the sprint animation so that whenever you're in the air, then that sprint animation can't play, because I still don't fully understand like the actual logic of blueprints. It's more just a hodgepodge of tutorials which I've been watching. I don't have the capabilities, and I've been looking it up and stuff, but I haven't found the solution. So that particular problem with the run when jumping is a motivating factor to actually become more independent with my abilities with blueprints, instead of just for every individual thing looking up a tutorial and kind of blindly following along. But still learning stuff from that. But I don't know. I was considering looking up some videos explaining more just like the fundamental logic and uses for each aspect of the blueprints. But also, on a lighter note, see these 3 attack animations? I was able to plug these into the character controller, so they kind of play at random. And you can't move, which I'm not sure if I like that, but apparently the animations, if you can move and hit at the same time, look pretty weird. But maybe there'll be some blending again that could be done. But yeah, so the cool thing is, if you like spam it, if you do it too fast, then it just does this weird little wiggly dance. But if you do it like the right speed, you kind of really goes for it. which I found quite amusing. For a bit of fun as well, I took an old sculpt for the animation vat, which is like the respawn point, and did a little kind of texture and chucked it in just to add a little bit more personality to this test area. And just got these here just to kind of test out the jump. The jump's a bit weird, so I was kind of happy with it, but when you jump, the kind of the initial jump animation, it kind of goes higher. It's kind of hard to tell. It's really quick, but it kind of goes up and then drops into the falling animation. But I think that'd be an easy fix because I can just take that jumping animation and then make it so it still has this motion, but it doesn't really move vertically within that animation. And then just put that in so it's all the same height, but then the actual height is determined by the kind of, I guess, the capsule or the actual character height and not the animation. But yeah, just feel a little bit more happy with, it's still very basic, but just to have an attack animation on the go and then that's ready to be plugged into actual kind of mechanics that can fight enemies, and it'd be great to get like a dash and start working out how the hell the grappling could work. And that's gonna, like I've mentioned before, a lot of inverse kinematic research is gonna have to be done, but I'm very excited to do that, although a bit nervous, you know, when every little thing that you think will take 5 minutes to do ends up taking like until 6 in the morning apparently. So but I love it. It makes it more satisfying to actually get the outcome at the end in a way. If it was that easy, I guess everyone would do it, and it would be like that scene in The Incredibles where Syndrome is trying to ruin superheroes for everyone. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, so it's kind of weird. I've bound the hackjaw / attack to left click, and obviously that isn't corresponding with the side. But my kind of idea moving forward, my idea behind that is that if you hold right click, then you kind of activate a targeting kind of system, either with the hackjaw itself to grapple different body parts, or a targeting system with the angler. I'm not really sure how both can be made to feel like, because obviously that would be a conflicting input, but either one, I guess. Maybe the angler is more just like a generalized fire at the thing, and then so you would just, I don't know, I'll figure out. But yeah, so and aiming feels more natural to connect to use right click. So yeah, that's that. That's that glitch again. Not really a glitch, just a failure on my part to properly add a condition to the jump. But I was gonna kind of react to a little recording of my process and see if I have any, because it'd be the first time watching it back myself, so maybe there'll be some kind of enjoyment there for me and novelty and stuff. So if I get this, yeah, so it's kind of half of it animating some of the first movement animations, and also it's kind of an insight into the madness, which is trying to figure out how to use the visual scripting, the blueprints. But anyway, can't remember exactly how many hours it was to begin with, but it took a long time to render this. So yeah, just kind of weight painting as I go here. With the rig, it's kind of bittersweet, because I know at some point all of these animations are gonna have to go in the bin, because I can't foresee a world where I don't notice things that need to be changed or added for the final version. So I'm, like how people kind of fostered dogs for a short amount of time. Like I'm trying not to grow too attached to these animations, and more so just see them as a kind of stepping stone between a lot of different kind of progressions. Like they're necessary as placeholders for a lot of reasons. Like for the sake of having something in place to kind of work with for the mechanics and stuff like that, and conceptually it's nice because you but yeah, also to develop the best rig possible. So I'm noticing that there's a lot of things which shouldn't take as long as they do to animate, like especially with the angler, the ranged weapon, the way his hand kind of slots into it, that takes a lot of like repositioning and stuff, and so I do like the freedom of actually having the hand underneath, but I was thinking I'll probably just skin the entire angler to the forearm joint instead of its own joint, so that every time the forearm moves, it moves exactly in the same direction. So yeah, that will save that, but since I've already kind of progressed with these animations to a degree, I think that might result in a bit of backtracking with animations, potentially, because reskinning something that substantial, and importing that new scaly mesh or mesh joints, because I've already like repositioned the angler in such a way to mitigate that kind of like disaligning of the forearm and the gun itself. It would probably end up looking worse than if I just leave it for now, and then once I do another kind of pass of the rig with more kind of like data to influence its improvement, that's when I'll make the change. Because yeah, I think doing too many batches of the same animations just for slightly improved rigs and mesh joints would destroy me. So I think just putting up with it a little bit and kind of just taking note for now. But apart from that, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. Like I think I'm gonna, what's this one? Just curious, actually. It's quite, actually, yeah, I'll just talk about this for a sec. Like with the idol, I realized that in the past I've just kind of relied on it just like standing kind of static, but just with a slight like breathing. But I'm trying to employ more of like a detail driven approach to animation, so lots more frames, and so he has this kind of like more like he kind of shuffles around and stuff. It's not perfect, and there's still a little bit of like breathing in there, and for the final thing I'd probably add a lot more variation, and eventually in other games, if it's idling for long enough, oh shit, if it's idling for long enough, then you get like very almost like Easter eggs. I noticed like in some games with like guns, like if the character's idling for long enough, then they'll like pick up their gun and inspect it and stuff like that. And I think that could be really fun to chuck in. There might be a better way to do that. Like instead of just putting it on a massive loop and just having it as a single animation, I think if I use an animation montage within the blueprints and create a bunch of them, then and plug them all in, then what you could do is for a select few which you might not want to play as often, you could probably kind of affect the likelihood of it playing, so that it would feel more unique and novel when it happens. That's probably it's funny, like a lot of these things I just kind of think on the spot as I'm talking about it, so it's like it's potentially not viable, but I feel like that specifically is. And same thing, so yeah, here's an example of the angler just being a pain to angle. But yeah, I'm looking forward to like animating the way it shoots and stuff as well, because right now it's been more designed just to reinforce other animations, like it's like a counterweight for an attack, for example. Unfortunately, I didn't actually record the animation of the attacks. This is purely just a recording of me figuring out the very basic animation, movement and their animations. Here's the walk cycle or run. That's gotta be run. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I just derived I took the walk cycle and posed it to be more like a run, but I think I got a little bit too carried away with the arm movement, because like it's really fun, especially with the hack jaw joints and the way you can manipulate them in quite like squash and stretch and expressive ways. I got a bit carried away with it, and I think for stuff like certain attacks or animations you don't do as often, I think it's cool to use that degree of stretchiness, but I think it didn't quite work for the running animation because it's something which you're doing a lot and it just comes off a little bit too goofy and cartoonish, which personally for this game I don't really want to have. Like, I think there's a lot of creative liberties with the kind of theme, and various tendrils and strange biology, but the animations themselves, if I want to move towards a slightly more grounded feel, because obviously everything else is so wacky, I guess, anyway, and it seems a little bit more professional. I kind of notice that of a kind of a less experienced developer generally will gravitate towards things kind of cartoony, I guess, and it makes a lot of sense. Developing a game more like, I don't know, like a simple art style and animations where you can kind of get away with not going for realism. I think that's like a very logical. By the way, this is just having a bit of fun with. I like the pose of the jump, so I just rendered it out, and I kind of like that render. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like it can be a little bit of a crutch, and I'm trying more to. I really want to push in my own work for feeling of like, I don't know. I want it to almost feel like quite. I want it to look like I'm more experienced than I am, basically, because I've only just finished the first year of the game development course, and I've never made any kind of like game characters or animated game characters or programmed game characters like before. And yeah, I never worked in any game engine or anything. And I'm kicking myself that I didn't really do it sooner, so I almost feel like I'm making up for lost time. But hopefully that kind of like feeling of being set back will motivate me to, because yeah, I just really want it to feel like not just like, it's like with the first, with Conjoined, the game that we worked on this first year, everyone would, I would get frustrated that it wasn't how I hoped it would come out to be, and everyone's just like, oh yeah, it's just your first game and stuff, but that to me doesn't feel like a justification. It doesn't feel like an excuse. It just, in my mind, just the only thing you should you should just work even harder if something's the first go. I don't know. I don't think that's a good excuse to make something below what you can be capable of. But with that under my belt, I think it will help with getting this game off to a good start. Although I'm switching engines, so for that game we did it in Unity, and this is Unreal. But I'm already so much more kind of feels so much more at home almost in this engine. I think it's probably due to its accessibility. And I think because if out of the gate it seems a little bit more like visually nice and stuff, and I'm quite like come from a visual background and stuff, so it just feels more appropriate for me. But that does not mean that I am good at it at all. So here's like referencing the default third-person player controller. I'm trying to be so funny, like why? So here's like I'm adding notes to the different kind of clusters of Blueprint nodes and everything, but I kind of realized that trying to polish a turd, trying to maintain organization when the thing I'm organizing won't necessarily work, is just a waste of time. So that's something I quickly put to one side just to continue to try and get all the being shit out of the way. And all this going back to the desktop is it doesn't crash, but it is a glitch where you can't click anything. Fortunately, when you close out, when you press to exit, it will ask you to save, and in that window you can't click stuff, so you don't lose anything, but it is a pain to open up. For this, so I go back into my rig in Maya. Is this the... Okay, yeah, so I'm creating a jumping animation. So before I just created a falling pose, but then I realized that I needed to have the kind of take off, the fall, and the land for the state machine for the animation. So what I've done is just created one whole animation and then bake it out and derive the keyframes. So you'd have the entire timeline, but then you take portions of it for the takeoff, the falling, and the land. But I don't think I actually end up using the falling animation for this either, because because it's actually, the animation is falling through space, it isn't looping. So I think I created an entirely different falling animation after, based on the original full pose. And yeah, with the falling animation, I want it to be a bit tighter than it is, like I described before. Just the jumping portion of that animation doesn't adhere to the logic that you can have motion in your animations, but with something where you're physically moving up and down, you don't want movement through space at all to happen within the animations. It's hard to tell exactly what bit of blueprints I'm doing because it's going quite fast, but it looks like a mixture of state machine and the animation graph. Looks like, implementing the jumping, I think. Most likely, because I was doing the jump before. Part of me as well wants to just like chuck a bunch of like, because I have normal maps for the sculpt I've done so far that I could apply to the placeholder Kenny without the clothes and everything, and unfinished even anatomy sculpt, but I don't want to commit to that because it will start to feel like not a placeholder, and I think there's like an ego element as well where it's like if someone looks at it and it looks like it could be like a half-assed final asset, it just happens to be naked, then I would feel embarrassed. So I might even make it like bright pink or something just to make it really obvious that this is all placeholder stuff. How much longer? Okay. Yeah, I think just getting, I think that's the land. I'm in the blend space. I still need to get a little bit better with blend spaces because I kind of used it for the idle and walk, but I think because I created like a something like a time graph where you can change it so like from walking to running, the animation will blend like exponentially. So you start off by walking and then you slowly gain speed. But I think because I didn't plug in I didn't use a blend space for those animations for that kind of transitional chart, it didn't have any effect, and so the transition between walking and running is quite jarring, and sometimes the steps won't be kind of in line, so it will like stutter and stuff, which isn't great. But honestly, I think I'm more keen to move forward a little bit, hopefully pick up on stuff which I can then take back and apply to improving the animations and stuff. But I find that like, say if you just spend loads of time trying to make the walk to run animation as good as possible, then there will only be so many resources for that. But like if you then go on to, if you look up like how to have clean transitions between different attacks and stuff like that, because a lot of the fundamental aspects of it are the same, but different kind of people might make different videos on the two things, even though it's all essentially using the same stuff. You can kind of start to pick apart stuff that people use for the next thing and then take it back and improve. And then additionally, you're more likely to be stimulated because you're constantly working on new things, and you're still improving overall. And also, you might see similarities between them, and actually that I think that's when you'll probably actually start to understand it on like a level where you can take the training wheels off, not always refer to YouTube or different forums about these things. Yeah, this is just me struggling with the sprint. It's painful to see. I don't even know if I've recorded. Oh, I think I might have. Yeah, close to the end now. I think, anyway, I can still do another tiny little roundup of it back in Engine. Have I even got it open? Yeah, I do. Okay, nice. Looks like I've gone to take a shit or something. Oh no, I'm back. Yeah, all the pausing now is kind of a bit jittery. That would be me focusing on like a video or something. We're trying to find new stuff. So it's not the cleanest recording, but if I stop recording every time I stop to try and understand what the fuck's going on, it would take a million years to get all the different videos and stuff, and I'd probably forget to press record again at some point because I'm up fucking in a delirious state, and yeah, this might be the one I end up going with for now. What am I even doing? Yep, classic. Having to restart the program again. Yeah, this is me just going off the grid, off the rails, and trying to create a bunch of not booleans, and it like is not sprinting false. Oh wait, this is the one that worked, I think. Yeah. Wait. Pretty sure that resembles what actually worked for me. Oh yeah, this is the... What did I call it before? It's going to open back up. If it doesn't... It keeps going off of it. Oh no, wait, no, this is still me fucking... I think in the actual animation blueprint, it was working. It was just the state. I really want to get back with the state machine, which is like where all the animations are actually kind of hooked up and stuff. But it's a final, and this is just like shit, random, just noise in the background, just to make it feel again slightly more. I don't know. And yeah, that's all of that random bullshit comes out to this. I should have looked at the time in the bottom right of that video. Could have got like a real good time lapse of how long it took. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the attack animation, and it didn't take too long to implement. It's only 3 varying randomized animations, and I think there could be a bit more movement or something to it, but in the span of 2 days, it feels longer than 2 days. I think I probably put more time into it than generally what is a good amount of time to put into something in the span of 2 days, but I'm pleased nonetheless. I'm also considering investing in a game controller because I think it would be great to be able to test some of the animation blending, because you can, with a controller you can be a lot more fine in the input speed, or the input which controls the speed with the sticks and stuff, because and for stuff like say if I wanted to record like a little kind of gameplay trailer or something as well, you can't really get like smooth panning shots with a mouse. But that wouldn't even be the main reason. It would just be a kind of like a bonus, I guess. And then I'd have a controller as well, which always fun. You can play video games with those and stuff, I guess. Not that I know what they are. Yeah, that's it. That's the DevBog 5. Bit of a waffly one, but it was interesting for me. Ta-ta!